Hey guys, just a quick vlog. So we've been bashing on the Apple computers lately in terms of the 2016 MacBook Pro. A lot of people have been bashing it. I think the majority, about 90% of reviews I saw gave it not a very inspiring reviews, shall we say, kind of mixed to down. And there may be some truth to it. So what I did is I went out and I had to replace my 2012 MacBook Pro because it was getting a little bit too slow for my uses. And so I went out and I took a risk and I bought the 2015 MacBook Pro. And in the process, I'm saving about 600 Canadian dollars. In addition to that, I got all my ports and everything, so it's kind of cool. So here's the thing though. I'm not quite sure if the 215 is going to be perfect for me in terms of what my requirements are. I'm not going to get into details. So what's the point of this vlog? There's one thing you still have to give Apple. One thing you have to give Apple, from my experience, the support that you get at the Apple Store is amazing. So for example, here's the policy that they have. I'm able to buy this MacBook Pro, use it for 2 weeks or more, and they said because of the time of the year I can keep it until January 8th, and I can bring it back, no questions asked, if I find that it doesn't meet my needs. So far more than enough time for me to test it, make sure everything works, make sure I can do the type of editing and so forth I need to do. And if it doesn't work out, I just bring it back and it's done. That's amazing. So I am thinking that the 215 is going to be able to do everything I need and more, no problem. I'm going to get that, no port issues, etc., etc., etc. But just in case that it's not good enough, I can bring it back and bite the bullet and get the faster 216 version. Now, I don't know how much faster it is. Most people say if you're not doing heavy-duty rendering with lots of special effects on video, you're not going to see much of a difference. It's maybe 10% faster, even less than that, than the MacBook Pro 2015. Again, a lot of it depends on your use case, meaning what you have to do. So when I'm looking at a computer, sometimes you can get hypnotized by the specs. Ooh, how many megahertz is this processor? Which version of the processor you're using? Yada, 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 yada. But what we know now from experience, that a lot of times computers are so fast these days that even if you go from a 4th generation Intel chip to a 6th generation Intel chip, you're not going to see much of a difference in terms of speed. You might see some differences here and there depending on what you do, but for most of us you won't. So keep that in mind when you're looking at buying a new computer, whether it be Mac or Windows. You see, in the last several years, because of the nature of CPU technology, Intel hasn't been able to really increase the speeds that much. So for instance, the 4th generation Intel chip versus the 6th generation, and the 215 MacBook Pro uses the 4th generation, if I recall, and the current one uses the 6th generation, even though the 7th just came out. The difference in speed might be 10% between the two. And that 10% speed difference may not appear at all if you're just doing coding and programming and browsing the web, watching videos. You probably never even come close to that. Same thing with disk drive speeds. Now I always tell people go with the solid state drives, the SSD drives, because they're so much faster than spinning disk, traditional spinning disk. That said, will you see much of a difference between the 2 gigabyte per second 2016 SSDs and the Macs, and they have the fastest SSDs in the business, some custom setup they have? Will you see much of a difference between the 2000 megs a second, the 2 gig a second transfer speeds with the 2016 model versus the 1500 megs a second in the 2015 model? I'm gambling at this point. You won't see much of a difference. But here's the great thing about Apple. I can take it, the 2015, play with it for 2 weeks, and if it's not fast enough, Apple gives you that option. You just bring it right back in, boom, not good for me, and that's it. That is kind of cool. That's premium service. And yes, you're paying a premium price for these Apple computers, but you're getting a premium service. And here's one last thing. I don't know if I pointed out in previous videos, but people have to remember when they're buying Apple products, there's a very, very high resale value for these computers. Chances are you'll be able to get a significant percentage of the money that you spent when you sell the machine back to somebody else. So my 2212 MacBook Pro, it's a 2012, and I basically got, it looks like I'm going to get about 35-40% of what I paid for it. And this is a 4-year-old computer. With Windows machines, no chance of that. No chance of that, unless the high-end SSD-based ones. But even that, Mac has this premium right now anyway. So chances are you'll be able to sell it for a lot of money when you decide to upgrade at some later point. And that's pretty much it. So I'm about to get in deep into my new course, and in so doing, I'm getting silly props to support it. So there's my first silly prop. Ciao.